Welcome, y'all, to part one of the Mystic Mallard Holiday Extravaganza 2025. I've got a lot planned for this month, 3 videos here on this channel, and a Christmas Eve live stream over on Mystic Mallard Live. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. But that's about all for that. Let's get on into the video you're here to watch. Can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only a shovel? Yeah, this video is not really holiday themed in any way, but I've been wanting to do this run for a couple months now, and after losing my footage for last month's run, I decided to go ahead and knock it out. Now I've got a couple of rules for this run. First, the only weapon I can use is the shovel. I am allowed to use my fists when necessary, namely to finish the Omerta's questline, but any other time I need to be swinging around a shovel. I'm also not allowing myself to dig up any graves or loot any bodies, and that's mostly due to the character I've made for this run. That's right, this is a character run. Y'all really seemed to like the last one I did a few months back, and I had a lot of fun with it, so I decided to do another one. I'll probably be doing more of these in the future, honestly. But that's enough intro, let's get into the run. It's a bit ironic, isn't it? After digging up so many graves, here I am with a front row seat to the digging of my own. And just when I decided to go straight too. I guess I should explain myself. My name is Robin Graves. I used to be a scavenger back west, but as the NCR expanded, scavenging, and more particularly my niche of looting pre-war graves, became more taboo. But then I was approached by someone representing Mr. House with an opportunity. One more scavenging job, an old factory that housed a platinum poker chip. I was to recover this chip and deliver it to Mr. House on the New Vegas Strip. Apparently, House wasn't the only person who wanted this chip, and that's how I ended up here. Well, the bullet didn't do its job like it should have. I don't know if it was because of my natural strength, endurance, or luck, but something kept me kicking after taking a point blank to the face, and I even somehow felt smarter after waking up. Regardless, the doc wanted to take a look at me before he let me loose. It was kind of a strange assessment, but I told him I've always been good with melee weapons and my fists, and that I can bandage a wound pretty well. And after a few more questions, I told him I'm naturally skilled and quite resistant to chem reliance. In fact, some people back west have said I have something called Logan's Loophole, whatever that means. Well, apparently that was good enough to pass the assessment because Doc gave me a Pip-Boy and sent me on my way. My first step was to find my shovel. It had actually somehow ended up in the local general store, and I had to buy it back from Chet, which was annoying, but I guess I was dead when he got it, so fair's fair. I made my way up to the local cemetery to check out my grave. You know, there were a number of relatively fresh graves here. I could pretty easily dig them up. No one would know and I could walk away with the spoils. No. That's the old me. I am on the straight and narrow now. I vowed at this point to not only dig up no graves, but also to not loot any bodies. I will defile no corpses. As a thank you for bringing me back from the grave, I decided to help the town with the local gang problem. Trudy agreed to help after I read a skill magazine that she sold me, and then I got some stim packs and doctor's bags from the doc. That was about all I could do to prepare, so it was time to defend the town against the powder gangers. Now, I guess the sight of a woman running at them with nothing but a shovel scared them, because after I took out a few of the powder gangers, some of the others just gave up and started walking away. I finished them off to protect the town, but it didn't feel great, and I'm pretty sure that was a war crime. Now, I know it's a bit early in the video to just jump out of character, but this is the first time I've ever encountered this glitch, and this isn't the only time it happened throughout this playthrough. Let me know in the comments if you've ever encountered this where enemies just randomly just go non-hostile for no reason. Alright, back into character now. Now it was time to make my way to New Vegas to confront the man who shot me, and hopefully recover the platinum chip. That chip was my ticket to a new life, and I was going to make sure it got delivered one way or another. The locals suggested that I head east along the safer path, but I had heard of a hidden path through Black Mountain. I had to beat off some bark scorpions and centaurs, But eventually, I made my way to the top of the mountain, passed through this fence here, and faced off against the deranged nightkin running this place. It took most of my healing supplies, but Tabitha eventually fell. Wait a minute. How did I do all of that? I've always been strong, but never that strong. And I've never been able to phase through solid objects either. Did something change in me when I got shot? Oh well, no time to think about that for too long. I have a poker chip to find. I made my way to Camp McCarran. There's a monorail there that takes soldiers straight into New Vegas. Now, it's only for NCR soldiers, but it's not very well guarded, so... Making my way onto the strip, I went straight to the tops to confront the man who shot me, Benny. Good news, he still has the platinum chip. Bad news, he doesn't really seem like he's too eager to give it to me. He tells me to meet him in his suite where we can talk about how we can move forward, but I know a trap when I see one. I turn right around and leave through what I thought was the only door to the casino, but it would seem Benny still managed to outsmart me. As an emissary? As an emissary of Caesar told me Benny had fled the strip and was making his way to Caesar's camp. Not the smartest place to run to, but I digress. Volpes handed me the Mark of Caesar, which would allow me safe passage through Legion lands, and invited me to meet his boss. But first, I decided to go meet with my own boss to come up with a game plan. Coming face to screen with Mr. House for the first time, I updated him on the situation. He was disappointed that I didn't come see him before talking to Benny, but he still wanted me to work for him. It turns out this was only a minor setback since House was going to send me to Caesar's Fort anyway. There's something underneath he wanted me to take care of. He told me to head straight there, but I got a little distracted and ended up running through an artillery field to meet a reclusive group who were real big fans of the pre-war Second Amendment. I healed the sick, slaughtered the local ant population, and then picked up and gave them some of their own scrap metal. Before I knew it, I had gained their trust enough to get them to ask me to do one more favor for them. They wanted me to help them raise a bomber out of a nearby lake. I decided I would go do that eventually, but for now, it was time to make my way to the fort. I set out east from Goodsprings. Passing through Prim, I saved Deputy Beagle and put the NCR in charge of the town. When I passed through Nipton, I met Oliver Swanwick just outside the city and ran into Volpes in the town square. I made my way through Searchlight, fighting through some ghouls, and ended up at Cottonwood Cove. As I crossed the water to the fort, I thought about my journey so far. All of the encounters I had had to this point, except for Tabitha, had been laughably easy. My shovel was putting in some serious work. It had always helped me defend myself, but as I've traveled the Mojave, I've found myself able to use it to knock people down with some sort of super slam. And it's not just my shovel, I felt my toughness increase to the point where I've become something of a stonewall. And armored enemies? Well, I've developed a piercing strike that just ignores people's armor. Something definitely changed in me when I came out of the grave. But what exactly happened? I shelved that thought for the time being, as I had arrived at the heart of Caesar's holdings in the Mojave. Caesar had captured Benny and taken the platinum chip from him, and when I arrived in Caesar's tent, he just gave me the chip. Apparently Caesar was also interested in whatever was underneath him and his army. He wanted me to go down there and destroy whatever I found. I entered the bunker underneath the fort and was greeted by Mr. House. He wanted me to activate the Securitron army that lay dormant down here. I was met with a choice. Destroy everything for Caesar, turning on the man who had given me this chance at a new life, or side with House, who was seemingly offering me my own personal army as long as I stay in his good graces. I made my way down to activate the Securitrons. I had to fight through some Protectrons and turrets along the way, but if it's not clear by now, I've gotten too strong for them to really pose any threat. Even the turrets went down in about 3 hits each. I returned to Caesar, who had felt the ground shake and assumed I had done as he asked. He said he had another job for me. He wanted me to eliminate Mr. House. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. The guy just gave me an army. I told Caesar I'd think about it, and left the fort to never return. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Benny after I left. I felt kind of bad that he got swept up in all this. Then again, he did shoot me point blank while I was defenseless, so I guess he got what was coming to him. I returned to Mr. House, who had another job for me. He wanted me to make contact with the explosive enthusiasts I had helped out earlier and make sure they were aiming those explosives at our enemies. I had already made contact, but I figured they would agree to side with us if I raised that bomber for them. I had to deal with some lake lurks along the way, and they were some of the more difficult enemies that I've encountered so far. Their dragonborn shouts just ripped right through my health, but they went down pretty easily once I was able to close the gap. I put the water wings on the bomber, and it floated to the surface. I made my way to Pearl to enlist her people's help in the coming battle. She told me they would be ready to rain fire down upon my enemies. Okay, boomers. I can't wait to see what you got lined up. Mr. House's next job for me was to investigate the Omertas, one of the families on the strip. I made my way to Gamora and talked to the receptionist who told me to find Kachino. I found him, but he didn't want to talk, so I found the key to his suite and grabbed his journal. When I showed it to him, he let me in on the secret. The Omerta higher-ups were planning to attack the strip for Caesar. Kachino didn't agree with the plan, though, so he asked me to help him put a stop to it. I talked to Troik, who told me about a weapon stockpile the bosses were going to use in their attack. He gave me some thermite, and I blew up their whole stash. Returning to Kachino, he told me it was time to take on the bosses, Nero and Big Sal. As we entered the room, well, I don't remember what happened. Something took over me, and before I knew it, Nero and Big Sal were no more, and Kachino was in charge. Breaking character here, what actually happened is that I just immediately rushed Nero with my bare hands and beat him down. For some reason, this completely breaks Big Sal's coding, which is expecting you to get into a conversation first, so he just never turns hostile. And then you can go take him down afterward. For some reason, this only works for me with my bare fists, from what I can tell. I've done this with a weapon, and Big Sal just immediately fires on me, but every time I do it with my fists, this is the result I get. Honestly, though, it is weird, probably unintended quirks just like this that make this my second favorite game of all time, right behind Oblivion. Alright, back into character. I returned to Mr. House, and he wanted me to go and eradicate the Brotherhood of Steel. He had traced their bunker to Hidden Valley, so I made my way there. As I entered the bunker, I got visions of a different timeline where I went in with my shovel swinging, taking out the Brotherhood one by one. I saw myself taking out power armor-clad paladins on the first floor, tearing my way through the weaker knights and scribes on the second, and then that's where my vision ended. That timeline me couldn't keep going. I had to blow up the base, but didn't have the ability to hack the terminal, and since the people holding the keycards had been slain, I couldn't loot their bodies due to the rules of this run. I mean my newfound moral code. With this knowledge, I entered the bunker and decided to play nice. For now. The Elder sent me out to deal with an NCR ranger that was posted nearby. Since the alternate timeline me cleared out the entirety of the Brotherhood of Steel, one NCR ranger didn't really pose much of a problem. For what it's worth, I did get him to attack me first by failing a pickpocket on him. Now that I had been given free reign of the bunker, I went to work pickpocketing the keycards off the important Brotherhood members. Members? Really? Members? You know what, I'm already behind schedule, I'm just going to leave it in. Anytime I got caught pickpocketing, the world seemed to reset for me so I could try again. More weird things happening, but honestly I'm getting used to it now. I set the bunker to blow and got out of there. The Brotherhood of Steel was no more. I felt as if someone was watching me with pride. I returned to Mr. House, and he had one more job for me before the battle. I was to go to an electrical substation and install an override ship. I put on an NCR disguise and was in and out of there in no time. Well, the time was here at long last. The Legion would attack Hoover Dam any day now, and it would be time to make our move. I lay down in my bed and rested up, and as I drifted off to sleep, I began to dream. Where am I?
This is something of a pocket dimension I created to talk to you.
Who are you?
I am the storyteller. A being from another world who's been guiding you and giving you power. You've been catching on more than most, noticing and remembering things others wouldn't have. So I decided to make myself known to you. I'm sure you have questions, so ask away.
Why me?
Well, your story was interesting. I wanted to share it. You have one more big event in this story, and then I'll be moving on. You can go back to living your life without my intrusion.
Will you ever come back?
Well, that depends on if the viewers want to see more of your story. If we can get 100 likes on this, I'll come back to your story.
What?
Oh, that's nothing to worry yourself with. Just know that I have your back in this coming battle.
Well, thanks, I guess. One more thing. If you created this world, why does it look like the Mojave?
I didn't have the money to hire someone to animate anything here. I mean, I wanted to place you in a familiar enough environment that you didn't freak out. My otherworldliness can make you lose your mind if I'm not careful.
Makes about as much sense as anything else you just said.
Whew, okay, well, good luck at the battle. I'll be right there with you.
Huh. Well, now I guess I know where I've been getting all these weird powers from. Nothing to do now but head to the Battle of Hoover Dam and drive out the Legion and NCR once and for all. Making my way across the dam wasn't much of a hassle. I let the NCR and Legion fight it out and made my way inside. I dealt with the troopers in power armor fairly easily and installed House into the dam's network. And after powering up the dam, I made my way onto the Legate's camp. Getting to the Legate was tedious. The Praetorian Guards had more reach on their ballistic fists than I expected, so they got in more than a couple of hits that I could have blocked. But the Legate himself didn't put up too much of a fight. Despite his imposing stature and high armor rating, he has a very exploitable weakness of being able to be knocked down. I have a melee weapon that can super slam. I also have chems to make me stronger. He didn't last but a minute or two. Mopping up his backup, though, was a little more difficult, and I had to use quite a few stim packs, but they fell before too long. General Oliver really didn't want to surrender, so I just backed up and let the Securitrons take him out. I met up with House, winning the battle and beating Fallout New Vegas with only a shovel. Well, that was a fun run. After I lost all my footage for last month's run, I wanted to do something just kind of quick and fun for this one, so I could focus on the story crafting, which is very quickly becoming my favorite part of making these videos. And I'm thinking about leaning more into that in 2026. If you want to see that, be sure to subscribe. I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. But yeah, be sure to check back in throughout this month for my other end of the year videos. And until next time, bye!